It's actually surprisingly difficult to mimic nature. It's irregular because I and most of us are indoctrinated through our education to think linearly, to think regularly, and I always find myself planting a tree saying, plant one there, there's a gap, I'd better fill the gap. Not the right thing to do. So our planting rate is slow. We plant at about a 10% rate compared to commercial tree planters. So in economic terms, we're very inefficient, but in ecological terms, we're actually seeking to mimic how the forest would spread itself. And here you see a good example of that. The picture on the left shows in one of our earliest planting weeks. In fact, this was our first planting week ever in 1991. And you see this man holding up a seedling here, about to plant it next to one of those stumps I referred to earlier, of an old Scots pine. We knew pines were there, so that's a good place to start from. There's probably mycorrhizal fungi still in the soil from when that tree was alive. The soil conditions are obviously suitable for pine, so let's put them in there. 11 years later, I went out to look for this stump, because they persist for a long time, as I said, for up to 100 years. And I searched for a whole day and I couldn't find it. It was a rainy, midgy day, not a very nice day. I gave up and had to retreat in the end. So I went back out another day and I took this photograph with me. I said, that stump can't have vanished. It must be there somewhere. Well, I searched for a number of hours and didn't find it. And eventually I found this here. So, well, that's a different stump. I'll take a photograph of that. At least I've got one stump, even if it's not the same one. I set the camera up on the tripod, and as I was focusing the lens, I noticed this triangular shape there at the top. You see that notch? I thought, hang on a minute, that looks very familiar. There it is there. And I was totally shocked to discover that that was the same stump. I would not have believed it if I didn't have the photograph with me, because the tree, Grant, his name was, planted, has grown up there. So have some others that were planted. There's a rowan that's regenerated naturally. But look what else has happened. The heather, which was totally suppressed here, has grown up and covered the roots of the pine. And you can even see blaeberry growing there in that process of hummock formation already underway. Whereas here, you see there's nothing. That's the difference 11 years makes. That is the healing of a wounded landscape. So we plant trees as well. That's the same area again. Now just to show you some of the other results we've been achieving. This photograph here was taken in 1999. These trees were 8 years old. The pines are the ones we've planted. The rowan is regenerating naturally, as is the willow down here in the corner. And this is the same area photographed just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And you can see the trees now way above my head. And I always say the measure of our success will be determined in future, maybe 50 years from now, if people go out to an area like this where we've planted trees and cannot tell the difference between that and a forest that is regenerated naturally, where no trees were planted. Then we'll have done a good job. Then we'll have created a more natural forest.